I decided to read a couple of short poems from my new book, Poetry of Wonder. I want to give a shout out to my wife. She's the painter of the cover of the book. It's a pastel painting. The first poem is called Can't Find My Way Home. Some of you may be familiar with a group called Blind Faith, and during COVID, I kind of went back to some of my roots and spent some time with music and poetry. And the image I got out of listening to that song by C. Winwood kind of produced this poem. But after I wrote it, I discovered that perhaps it also in some ways applies to our journey through COVID. So can't find my way home. The horseman urges his mount on, as shadows play darkening woods. Leaves yellow gold, which in sun stood, now menace him with night's dark hood. He buttons coat against the wind, pulls fur hat down in night's damp cold. More miles to go, new day, now old. Twilight's phantoms become more bold. He whispers to his faithful mount, "You know the way, just take me home, far from these woods and obscure gloam, for I am lost and we're alone." And through the fog and rain and snow, his steady steed like angel's flight moves onward, upward through the night, toward home, hearth, and morning's light. I did include two fall poems. One's called Expatriate Fall. Back in the early 1970s, I became an expatriate living in Paris, France, hoping to be a writer. I didn't end up being a writer, but it started my career in international relations, so I'm grateful for it. Expatriate Fall. I miss November's frosty air, like multicolored leaves by the sun, like pilgrim tapestries that run down broad New England thoroughfares. I miss hayrides at a farm, red apples at the country fair, the way the sun shines on your hair, Nantucket's light, its island charm. I miss Thanksgiving in our style, our laughter, Nana in her chair, your smile so very like a prayer, which warmed me once a little while. The third poem is a fall poem. A couple of years ago we had a fall which is very much like the one we've had today. The leaves are not as bright and brilliant as they normally are. So at that time I wrote this poem. It's a wonder to behold when leaves turn orange, red, and gold. This year we look and wonder why the leaves are duller, dark, and dry. Some think the cause is lack of rain and say it's a crying shame. I hold past colors in my mind, unchanged by years or death or time.
Well, you're turning pages. That's your book. What's the name of it?
The book is called Poetry of Wonder. This one was written for a friend of mine who passed away about a year before COVID. It's called Ghosts at the Table. I thought that more people would have mourned, certainly from our church. The church he had left to stand for a principle they no longer considered valid, but sacred to him. My wife and I revisited his favorite restaurant, the site of many former after-church lunches with him and his wife, just the four of us talking about kids and grandkids. He loved my son deeply. My wife and I sat in silence thinking about the two empty chairs across from us at our table, once filled with joy. The waitress asked about them. They were her friends, treated her like a daughter. I saw her wipe the tears from her face when I told her why he and his wife no longer came. I had to avert my eyes. My wife started to cry as well. And so in silence we ate with ghosts. The manager came to our table, his pain evident. The waitress had told him, and he wanted to say how sorry. They were really good people, he said. I hope she is okay. He wanted to know details, and I told him what I could. His wife would get through this, I said. She is with her daughter. But I did not know if I would get through it, that is. I thought of the years of service he'd given our church. Now he was mourned by me, my wife, a waitress, and a manager. The others might write letters, which his wife did not want to read. I would not write. I had spoken to her. We would speak again. So I sat at the table and thought what he would say if he were there. The memories ached. It was just me, my wife, and the ghosts at the table. This next poem is called Memory of Sea and Sun, and it brought me back to a time in my youth when I used to spend time at the Jersey Shore on some islands. That childhood day floats back to me from deep within my memory. A day of sun and sand and sea, where bobbing birds keep near the lee. Perfumed petunias hold the air, their bright, bold colors everywhere. They line the path down to the beach that brings soft sand within my reach. I walk in thought. This summer sand teases my toes like a lover's hand, and as I stroll along the strand, the magic seashells fill my pants. Each shell, each smell, a memory. When I recall both sand and sea, as they were and will always be, this childhood scene lives on in me. The sun's rays play upon my breast like gentle fingers' soft caress. The deep embrace by this warm light protects me now against the night. This next poem is called Dew Dawn, and it's the way sometimes I feel in the morning and the way I think we all should feel. The dew sits softly on the ground in silent stillness. There is no sound. The birds have still to come awake, for it is just before daybreak. I sit, wait for the rising sun, for this I know, that it will come and warm the earth. The birds will sing their song, a new beginning bring. It is a perfect time for prayer, to know that peace is everywhere. It must come now just like the dawn, in innocence of the new morn. My last poem, again, during the time of COVID, I went back to poems I like. One of them by Alan Seeger, written in 1916. He died July 4th, 1916, at the Battle of the Marne in France, working with the French Foreign Legion. It's called A Rendezvous with Death. And this is my version, or my rebuttal to Alan Seeger. It's called Rendezvous with Life. My rendezvous with life, not death. No dark, violent, battered hill. I choose the light with every breath. I hear your voice and I am still. Barricades of time, not mine. I will not make that rendezvous. When spring comes round, bright flowers fine, then will I turn my eyes to you. Your apple blossoms fill the air, a contrast to pandemic war. My hopes in your eternal care, a rendezvous with death, no more.